Very nearly about sailing, October 2024. Hello, my name's Paul. This is the channel that was once known as Just About Sailing, as in, oh, I'm sailing, but only just about. And as from the beginning of 2025, will be known as Very Nearly About Something, because there won't be any sailing next year for reasons that I'll talk about very briefly. This is going to be a very short video. Basically, the work will continue. Now, my health has got a lot better. I've had a health problem, for those of you who don't know, the last 5 years. I'm now back up to 60–70%, and it means I can do things, do jobs I couldn't do before. One of the big issues that I had was brain fog, which was really debilitating. It meant I was making stupid mistakes, and I wasn't able to do big projects or focus. Well, sometimes I was doing things and I'd forgotten that I'd done them, which is quite good, because there's one big project that I wanted to do, and I got back to it, and I'd already done it. It was seriously really bad. Anyway, so what's going to happen is I've been going stir crazy. Next year is going to be spent having fun and having adventures, and the quickest way of me doing that is on my motorcycle, and I might get a second motorcycle as well, but my Honda CB250N Superdream, not the most wonderful motorcycle in the world, not the fastest, certainly not the best motorcycle I've ever had. Let me, as I'm talking about this, let me show you some of the bikes I've had just up here. These are just the new ones. Yeah, sorry, there is a Harley Davidson at the end of it. So, what was I saying? Yeah, so I'm going to start off on the Honda 250, have adventures on that, but that's not going to happen until March, until April, until the weather gets nice. So that gives me plenty of time to start doing work on Serenity, my boat. Work that I couldn't do before because I simply didn't have the stamina to do it. I would climb up the ladder twice and then have to spend 2 days in bed, which is just, it's not good. The good news is, even though I need to build up my funds, because I spent it all over the last 5 years or so, I've actually bought already all the things that pretty much all the things that I need to get Serenity back in the water. So I'm really looking forward to getting back on Serenity. It's a shame it's not in nicer weather, because it's going to be quite cold, but I've got the diesel heater, haven't I? So hopefully it'll be warm in Serenity. The other thing I'm going to do next year, so the big adventure next year, and I'll lead up to this, and I'm probably going to do some camping trips and so on. And oh, by the way, another bike that I had, which wasn't the new one, this is second hand, is one of these, a BMW Fundura. I mentioned this last time. I'm probably going to get one of those, because for longer trips, and if I need to do a few motorway miles, that's much better, much more comfortable, can carry more load than the Honda. So I'm not going to get rid of the Honda, I'm going to keep that. I really do like it. So one of the trips I'm going to do next year, and I'll lead up to it, is to do the North Coast 500 around Scotland. I'll use that as a bit of a stopping point. I might spend a month doing it and go off to different marinas and so on, and do a ride along the Caledonian Canal, because these are all places that I want to take Serenity, probably in 2026. And it's a lovely, lovely part of the world. And yeah, so I will be basically over the next summer doing that on the Fundura, or even if I don't get a Fundura, it might be fun to do it on the Honda. Or I've now actually reached retirement age, and I'm now, oh no, it only works for England. I've got a free bus pass, so I can go on buses free in England, but it doesn't get me on buses free in Scotland, so forget that. I can't do the NC 500 on a bus pass. Maybe I can do the Lake District on a bus pass. See if we can do that. Anyway, that's kind of the stuff that's going to happen. The last bit of brain fog that I had was just as I was putting Serenity, sorry, just as I was putting the Honda together. I'd done the carb work, and I thought this is a simple job. I took it apart, put the choke cable on, split the two carburetors apart, put them back together, and I put them together wrong. I didn't do the mechanism that allows the butterfly valve, the butterflies, to be synchronized. They have to be synchronized to move exactly the same time. I put some washers in the wrong place, so what was happening is one was moving and the other was kind of not moving in sync with it. So even if I did try and sync it up, and I did a bench sync, it wasn't perfect by a long way. Although I've done 700 miles on it so far, about 650 of those with the badly synced carbs, and it's still going very well. But I went to do a proper vacuum sync on it the other day, about 2 or 3 days ago, and I was twisting the screw and it wasn't getting any better. I thought, what's going on here? And then I looked at it and I fiddled about with a screwdriver and thought, oh, poor you idiot, you've gone and done it wrong. So I've now fixed that. I had to take the carbs off again, which is a complete pain. I was going to do the resyncing today, but it was raining. So I'm going to do it over the next couple of days. It's the 28th of October today. So if this video comes out a bit late, sorry about that. That's just the way that things go. And take it out for a spin. And then, I said this in my last video, I said that the Superdream was probably going about as well as it did when it was new. Once I've done that syncing of the carbs, it really will be going as well as when it was new. I did a compression test and it came out to about between 250 and 230 psi, exactly the same on both cylinders, which is really nice. So I know that the cylinders are working fine, I know the valves are fine. I've adjusted the tappets, I've adjusted the cam chain, I've adjusted the balance shaft chain. It's getting a new chain and sprocket kit put on it soon. I've completely taken apart and done the front brakes now. They've all been ultrasonically cleaned. It's as tatty as it ever looked, but it really is in fantastic condition now. I've had the tyres resealed on the rims. I'm not losing any pressure. It's going as well as it can, and I've got luggage and so on. But I will probably get one of these Funduro. I've had one before, great bike. So anyway, let's have a quick look to see what I did on the rest of the stuff that I did on the Honda that I haven't done yet. And if you're not interested in that, then tune out and I'll see you next month. So I've got some proper balancy things, and I thought, oh, do you know what? The bike's running okay, but not brilliant. Time to actually do a full vacuum balance. Now I actually need to get a few more bits for that because it only came with one adapter. But when I was adjusting it, I was adjusting it, and there seemed to be a maximum point, and it wasn't going any further. And then the lock nut was almost falling off, and it's really difficult to get to. So I thought, oh no, that means the mechanism's bad. I'll need to swap it with the other carburetor. No, pure user error, pure me being a complete idiot. So let me swap that back on properly. Wait for the other bits to go, and then we'll do a balance. And do you know what? I'm astonished that the bike's been running as well as it has done, just with the bits and pieces I've done to the carbs. I'm surprised it was running at all, actually, with such a devastating problem like that, because I did link it up to this very, very briefly, and the measurements are completely different. So hats off to Honda carburetors, but I'm looking for a big improvement in performance here. Let's see if I'm right. Have I ever mentioned, and this is a rhetorical question because I've mentioned it about 15 million times, how much I hate doing carburetor work, because you have to get it so precise. And in one of my foggy brain periods before I put the bike back together, I'm surprised it was running at all. I put together the linking mechanism wrong. See these two little washers? Whoops. See these two little washers here? One should be on that side of the thing, the other should be on that side of the thing, and that spring should work different. Let me show you one that's on properly. This is an uncleaned carburetor, so you might not be able to see this very clearly, but there is a little washer on this side and a little washer on that side. When the carbs come apart, this thing fits together. When I put it together, I didn't do it carefully enough. After doing all that work of taking it all apart, cleaning it, replacing all the jets, doing a bench balance, and what's happened is that it's actually impossible to do a proper vacuum balance, and I hate taking these carbs on and off. Right, with the carbs off, and by the way, I fixed that in about a minute because all I had to do was unscrew the screw all the way, change the position of the washers and screw it back together. I didn't actually have to take the carbs apart. So what a silly mistake. But while I've got this off, for those of you who haven't balanced carbs before, there's some sort of device. Sometimes there's a little hose. Very often it's just a little screw at the top of this. So this is the cylinder, obviously. This is where the carb goes on. And then what you do is you unscrew this screw, there should be a little copper washer underneath it, which there is in this one. There isn't on the other side actually, so I need to replace that. And then you screw in an adapter into this hole, and that then goes onto the vacuum gauge. Very, very easy. I mean, wait and see. I was really confused why it wasn't working before, because I did try it, and I got to the maximum of the of what I thought was the adjustment, but of course I wasn't adjusting it at all. It wasn't moving, and it was way, 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 way out. So let me just pop that back in. Pop the carbs back on. I say that, it always takes me about 3,000 hours to put this in, because although it looks like there's a lot of space there, there's all rubber things and things have got to line up, and it's a complete pain in the neck. Anyway, let's put the carbs back on. Wait for the bits to arrive, and then although we're getting to the end of the month, I might actually delay this a little bit, because I do want to go out and test this, because I think this is going to be so much even better, and it was going well enough. But obviously with the different vacuum, with different butterflies on each side, the engine's fighting itself, so it'd be interesting to see if I can really notice the difference. Should be able to. Right, carburetor's back in. That is a paradigm example of brain fog and the problems that I've been having over the last 5 years. It's just such an obvious stupid error to not look to see which side of something the spring and the washer should go. So this is the first start. The tick over is going to be all over the place. I've done a basic bench balance. Tick over will be all over the place because I haven't really set it properly. Good job. Helps if you turn the fuel on, Paul. There we go. So the next step is to do the proper balance, remembering to turn the fuel on, because obviously a lot of fuel had dripped out and so on whilst I was doing that thing. By the way, do you like this? I put on a sort of fly screen type thing. I decided I needed a bit of customization. It's not the prettiest bike looking at the front of the speedo, etc. And that won't really make much difference, but I like it. They were quite common back in the day. Common, and I'm common, so there we go. Right, so I was going to say the sun is shining. The sun is not shining, but it's not raining. I've put these things on here. What you can get, and some people keep these permanently on the bike, that's the little device that fits on there, and you can put a cap on it. I'm actually going to put the screws back in, I think. And then you put a hose from the actual gauges onto each one of those. So these are two gauges, left and right. The left-hand cylinder, the left-hand butterfly kind of stays where it is, and whatever that comes out to. And when I was doing it before, it was coming out to about 100. It doesn't really matter, it depends on what revs you've got. You then adjust that so it matches, and it's as simple as that. And before, it just wasn't working. Importantly, I've actually got two short 8mm spanner. I found an old spanner and very, very carefully cut it in half. And the other thing you need for the adjustment, because it's really difficult to get at, is a really, really long screwdriver to kind of get down there. But anyway, let's attach this, kick it all off. It's going to get noisy, and then I will start adjusting it. So right, you're saying, how do you adjust that with the needles flapping about like that? Well, what you do is you have these little valves, and you adjust them until the needles sort of slow down until they're almost still. done way down here, and what was happening previously is that I was adjusting it. It was get so far, not even that far, and then it wouldn't go any further. So if I adjust the screw now, see that needle's going up and the bike's running faster and better. Right, so I've fiddled about with it like mad to try and get it as close as I possibly can. I've redone the idle screws. I've set the tick over to about 1400, and it seems to be a lot better than it ever was. So I think you can see they're kind of going up and down at the same. That's as balanced as I can get it. And the blip test is nice because when I blip the throttle, it blips up to a particular speed and then it drops straight back to tick over. So it's all hunky-dory. Right, well that was interesting, to find interesting, and it's also put the cat amongst the pigeons. I just went out for the first test ride. It's quite a nice day today. The roads are a bit muddy, so I took it gently. I just went out to my favourite, well I've got two actually, one of my two favourite motorcycle cafes, burger joints and so on, both of which are right next to a motorcycle dealership. So yeah, I went out to test the carbs, and it's really put the cat amongst the pigeons because the bike is going fantastically. One of the things, I mean I was pleased with it before, don't get me wrong, I mean it's only a 250 twin 29 horsepower, I can't remember how many torques it's supposed to have, but the thing is, I'd always described it as having no torque at all, and because I'd never rode one of these when I was a teenager, just didn't fancy it because it was the weak one of the 250s. I wasn't knowing what to expect, although I have ridden a lot of Hondas, and I described it as having no torque. But I think that lack of torque, and torque is kind of thrust. It's a little bit, you know, like when the rocket takes off. It's a little bit like, you know, when you know that point when the sail gets your wind, sails get the wind, and it kind of, you get that real push forward on a boat. It's that sort of thrusting feeling, and there wasn't any before at all. And I think it was all taken up with the fact the carbs weren't balancing, and they weren't balanced, and they were fighting themselves. So I actually overtook something today. It's not the first time I've overtaken something, but I overtook it easily, and between 4,000 and 6,000 revs, 6,500 revs, it was perfect. It just kind of pulled away. So yeah, as I say, cat among the pigeons, because I'm thinking, do I need a bigger bike to do the NC 500? Can I just, I'm growing very fond of this. I didn't take you along for the ride, by the way, for the simple reason that I was very disappointed at the quality of the video and the sound in last month's, or the last few that I've done. I kind of got away with it, but since then I've watched a few YouTube vloggers, bikers who do this stuff properly, and they've all got the image stabilization, they've all got 4K or 8K cameras, and they're doing 60 frames per second and smoothing it all out, and it does look a lot, and the actual dynamic range in terms of the contrast and so on, it just looks so much better. So I'd intended to upgrade my camera gear anyway, and it's stuff I can use for sailing. So whether I go for another GoPro, and those of you who've watched the channel for a while know that I killed my old GoPro by not having the waterproof back on and trying to take some underwater shot of a dolphin. So it's the shortest underwater shot of a dolphin in history. And then after that I just got cheap ones. So there's GoPro, there's Insta 360 I think it is, and there's DJI. I don't know. I'm going to get something better for that, and that'll do for both sailing and the bike. So as I say, I wasn't expecting it to be quite that good taking it out. Really should have done that in the first place, but to be quite honest with this bike, I wasn't expecting really to ride it at all. So I probably had lower expectations of both myself and the bike than I should have had. And yeah, what I'm going to do now, I'm going to clean this up. It's going to have a new chain and sprocket kit put on it because that's the only thing I need to do. I won't show any of that. I'm going to give it a good wash and a good clean down, and give it a really thorough sort of once over, make sure all the nuts and bolts are kind of sorted. So the next time you'll see this bike, we'll be going out on some sort of an adventure, whether it's a small camping trip or whatever it happens to be. But as I say, next year is going to be about fun, it's going to be about adventure, and I can now put this safely away knowing that it's going to be great for when I take it out. And I'm now going to focus a lot more on Serenity and the various jobs and things. I'm not sure what order I'll do them in. I think the first thing I need to do is to fit a bigger, I've got all this stuff, fit the bigger tank to the diesel heater, grab rails on the roof. There's loads of things, and I've got all the gear, I've got all the kit to do it, and I've got the energy to do it. So there we go. That's a very positive end to this. I do fancy getting a Funduro, but do I really need to? I don't need to go on motorways and things. I could do all B roads, and to be quite honest, even when this thing's going at 55 to 65 miles an hour, it feels like you're doing about 100. Although the suspension stuff is surprisingly well. I never thought I would wax lyrical about a Honda CB250 Superdream. Never, ever, ever. Had so much opportunity to ride one when I was 17 and working in a Honda dealership, and I refused to get on it. How wrong I was. This is a keeper. I'm going to keep this. Anyway, enough of me whittling on. Have yourself a good... Oh, it's Halloween today, so I am going to get this out in time. I'm going to render this, get it all edited up, and for those of you who stuck around, have yourself a great Halloween. I shall see you in November. Don't know what I'll do, probably some bits and pieces on the boat, and then I will do some very brief, stupid Christmas special where I just sort of summarise what's been going on in the year. And I really can't remember. This is the thing. I look back on my videos and I think, oh, did I do that? I can't remember doing that. So anyway, have yourself a good one, and I will see you all very soon. Bye.